Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video in our time-lapse step-by-step vehicle construction series for Dieselpunk Wars. In this series I'll show you exactly how I construct a particular vehicle so that you can either follow my steps exactly and make the same kind of vehicle, or so that you may get inspired to do something of your own, in which case do not forget to share your work with us via our Discord server or any social media you prefer. As usual, I do have something to say at the start, a disclaimer if you will, that this game is still in development. It's currently live on Kickstarter at the time of the recording of this video, so if you want to know more about it, please take a look at our Kickstarter campaign, and always keep in mind that everything you see here is subject to change and nothing you see here is final. Without any further ado, however, I would like to tell you what we're going to be making today, and that is a flying vehicle. I want to create a fast and agile torpedo bomber. Something that can take out even the largest ships with ease without having to invest too many parts or time into making such a vehicle. So, because this vehicle is supposed to be fast and agile and destructive rather than defensive, I'm going to go ahead and have everything clustered together really tight. So first of all, usually I would protect my core command module and separate it from other modules such as engines which might actually catch on fire, but in this case I'll add engines directly to my command module, as well as its one large liquid fuel tank. And then on the sides of the command module I'll also add the crew compartments necessary for my engines and my guns, as well as 2 gyroscopes. That's just the start for gyroscopes. And of course the cooling modules as well, which are rather important, I would say. And they will allow me to actually accelerate, have those sudden bursts of acceleration whenever I actually need to increase my speed tremendously over a short period of time. Next up, I'll go ahead and create a means of lift and propulsion. So starting with lift, I want to separate the balloons from my main vehicle to kind of create this setup where my vehicle doesn't have everything packed tight together into one large target. Instead, I want to separate them somewhat to make its profile a little bit smaller and harder to hit. So in its wings, let's call them, I'll add another 2 gyroscopes. That's very important because I don't want my airship to tilt. So the gyroscopes are going to prevent me from tilting uncontrollably. The heavier and larger the vehicle, the more gyroscopes you might need. And then I'll start working on balloons. Now, of course, I'll also need to have some ammo blocks for my weapons, and those I plan to hide inside the balloons themselves, where they will be out of sight and far away from all of my key components such as engines, command module or anything like that. And in the middle of a balloon, I think they're fairly safe. Sure, a concentrated attack could destroy them very quickly, but I doubt anything is gonna suspect there to be an ammunition block inside of a balloon, right? So I think they're fairly safe in there. And even if one blows up, I'll still have another balloon, which should be enough to keep my vehicle afloat, at least for a while. So it's not ideal, but for a small vehicle like this should be okay. Next up, it will be a matter of adding some extra means of propulsion. I'll start by adding some air propellers, and I'll just need 2 of them. Because of how light my vehicle is, they'll be more than enough to actually give me quite a good amount of forward momentum. And then I'll add some air side propellers as well. These I initially put in a single line, which is a mistake that I'll fix later on, as right now I would be able to move to the sides, but I wouldn't be able to turn, and I don't have enough power left over to add more side propellers. So I'll change them so that they're not in a single line, but rather there's one at the front and the back of the vehicle, so that they can properly help my vehicle turn. Next up is a matter of adding weapons. This is supposed to be a torpedo bomber, so it's going to rely mostly on torpedoes. I'll add 2 of these. And next up, I do want to have something that would allow this vehicle to potentially destroy something that might also come on land, potentially an amphibious tank or something along those lines. So I do want to add something to that as well. My first thought is missile launcher, but because torpedoes and bombs use the same kind of ammo, whereas missile launcher doesn't, I decided to instead use bombs so I'll swap them out later on in this time-lapse. Finally, with the weapons in place and of course the spotting modules in place as well, I only need 2 of those at the front because this vehicle, it has one very specific goal: to destroy something that's in front of it. If something catches my vehicle, you know, it attacks my vehicle from the side, I'm dead in the water. This vehicle is not supposed to be that. It's supposed to operate under a very specific set of circumstances. Nevertheless, next up I'll add some springs to make sure that this vehicle can land if necessary. That's not really truly necessary when you make a flying vehicle, but you can do that if you so desire. And after that, it's just a simple matter of reinforcing the entire vehicle, adding some extra armor plating. Because of how light it is, I'll increase its thickness to the maximum so that it will be more difficult to penetrate by enemy attacks. And finally, the most fun part for many, the most horrible part for others: painting the vehicle. I decided to paint it green and yellow for whatever reason. Don't ask me, I don't know myself what was going through my head. And finally, the small tiny little changes that I needed to make to this vehicle, that is changing the place where its airside propellers are. I also added some proper steers so that it has an easier time turning. And of course, I also decided to add some extra rocket propellers to allow my vehicle to have sudden, you know, bursts of acceleration whenever necessary, when I want to instantly gain momentum and run away from overwhelming enemy fire. And with that, the vehicle is ready. Youtubus Smallus is now going to have to face its enemies in combat, and we'll see how effective it truly is. We are now ready for my favorite part of vehicle construction, the testing part. Youtubus Smallus is going to have a very difficult challenge ahead of it. It's going to have to destroy 2 ships far bigger than itself. First of all, the Wave Crasher, hopefully not much of a challenge since it lacks the anti-air capabilities. And then the Ship of the Line, which is going to be far more difficult to destroy considering its array of anti-air turrets, which is more than enough to destroy any torpedo bombers before they can get even close to the enemy. Let's see if our small but fast airship is going to have what it takes to destroy both of these vessels without it being destroyed in turn. Considering how few parts I used for this construction, I'll be satisfied with even a single enemy destroyed. So let's see if I can get at least one of them gone. I'll disable the bombs and start gaining on my enemy as quickly as possible to try and, if at all possible, start firing with my torpedoes. Then I'll slow down a little bit and then definitely speed up, re-enable the bombs, change my camera, and also start dropping some bombs. Okay, I didn't need to drop that torpedo, but the enemy is for the most part destroyed. Let's lower our altitude, disable the bombs again, and slowly make an approach looking for the Ship of the Line. I know that Wave Crasher is partially still behind us somewhere, but I don't think it's much of a threat. And there we go, there is the Ship of the Line. Evasive maneuvers. I'll need to try to get above the enemy. I think those bombs were too far in the front, but I was able to sever the front part of the enemy vehicle. That was good enough for me. Let's try to increase our speed, and I'll keep changing the altitude all the time to make it more difficult for my enemies to actually hit us properly. Now I'm trying to get an angle on them while evading their fire, but it looks like we're far away from the enemy, so we should be more or less in the clear. Let's see if we can find them again, shall we? The hunt continues. There is the enemy ship. I was able to find it eventually. Let's gain the altitude as quickly as possible to try to see if we can fire a few more volleys at it. Yeah, there we go. Another... Oh, that's a bummer. Our torpedoes went underneath the vehicle. Well, that means that all we have left, since the enemy vehicles, it shot us down, unfortunately. But for the most part, I think it was a successful run. If not for the fact that the torpedoes actually went underneath the enemy vehicle, I think we've had this, honestly. Looking at the enemy Ship of the Line, yeah, there isn't much left of it, really. I can see its command block, it's right over there. It was so close to being destroyed, but unfortunately, with the last volley we missed each other. Or rather, I missed the enemy didn't miss me. As for the Wave Crasher, it's gone. Like, sure, it still floats up and about, it still has its command module, but it will never be able to do anything ever again. So I'd say that our build, although resting at the bottom of the ocean now, was fairly successful. It destroyed 2 giant enemy ships. One of them is still operational, but that's only because the torpedoes weren't underneath the enemy ship. Either way, I'm satisfied with this construction and this build. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. If you have any other questions regarding Dieselpunk Wars or its Kickstarter campaign, please ask them freely in the comments down below. Visit our Discord channel to chat with our community, and of course check out our Kickstarter project and consider backing it if you liked what you see. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck in all of the battles to come!